Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review No Hard Feelings. And this is a new comedy from writer-director Gene Stupnitsky, and who had previously worked on The Office and Good Boys, Bad Teacher, stuff like that. And here we have Jennifer Lawrence playing Maddie, who is a woman who has lost her car. She's an Uber driver, and she's about to lose her home that her mother left her to tax issues, and she desperately needs her car. So she decides to answer an ad from a rich couple played by Laura Benanti and Matthew Broderick, and their son played by Andrew Barth Feldman. His name is Percy. He is kind of a shut-in, and they decide, well, we'll give you this car if you date our son. And that's the crux of this movie. And you know, you watch a film and you're like, wow, that was a really cool concept, and sometimes it doesn't meet expectations. Sometimes it's just like, wow, that's a really problematic and bad concept, and sometimes it can overcome those shortcomings. That is more of what No Hard Feelings is, because I think this concept is terrible and is set up to end poorly. Because the thing is, it's like, there really shouldn't be a good way to reestablish trust after, you know, Maddie, Jennifer Lawrence's character, falls in love inevitably with Percy, and then try to be like, but it was really true. Now, this film is surprisingly earnest, and in those moments, this film works best, honestly. I think Lawrence and Feldman have really good chemistry, and how Andrew Barth Feldman transforms throughout this film is actually pretty impressive from this young man who gives a strong performance. I think Jennifer Lawrence is able to really work on multiple levels here as well, from being funny to being someone who we can empathize with, and also who could be seductive, because that's what her role is. And you have this film where it has a decent amount of laughs, but it's challenging because it needs to overcome this concept, and it leans heavily into cliches that we see in other films where we have characters that wind up falling for somebody who they're trying to con in some kind of way, and we've seen it millions of times, which obviously is an exaggeration, but we haven't seen it dozens and dozens of times in film, and that's exactly what happens here. And this was kind of billed as like this really raunchy movie, and honestly, it's not that raunchy, and it's actually better when it's not, because some of the raunchier moments are the things that aren't funny. And there's a couple of moments where this was having a pretty strong ending of like some real growth and emotion, and then it has to go and make a really, really terrible gag that is supposed to be some kind of funny slapstick, but it's just not funny, and it kind of takes you out of the film. So there's certain gags in this film that are so unfunny that it takes you out of the movie. But there's also plenty of humorous moments that are actually pretty clever. You do have some fun moments from Natalie Morales and Scott MacArthur, who are Maddie's friends. They have some good moments. Eben Moss Backrack, who plays Gary, who's the local tow truck guy who has definitely had a fling with Maddie, that has some moments too. But where the real heart here is that there's some genuine connection between these two people. There's a lot of... They go to a party, and some of the stuff's not as funny, but it's commentary on how different somebody like Jennifer Lawrence, who's a millennial, versus Gen Z, is actually really funny. There's a couple of gags in that scene that are hilarious. But where this film really adds depth is the challenges that Percy's going through in terms of growth and trying to be somebody who can act for himself. And Feldman is actually really funny at certain moments in this film, and very earnest. Lawrence, her character Maddie, has to go through overcoming some serious trauma, honestly, of abandonment. And it's interesting how this tackles, because it takes place in a shore community where a lot of rich people go during the summer, and there's a surprising amount of local versus visitor kind of tension. And there's some elements of this film that are surprising and work in that interesting way and have something to say. Now, it doesn't always come together. It does lean heavily into cliche. But I still had a really fun time with this and rather enjoyed this. And I think it's worth your time, and it's good seeing Jennifer Lawrence back doing things because she's a really talented actress no matter how you feel about her personally. But between Don't Look Up and Causeway, this is quite different, but it's still an interesting turnout for her and a fun film. But those are my thoughts on No Hard Feelings. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.